All right. Good morning. Happy Monday. Today is Star Wars Day, because May the 4th be with you. I know, bad joke, but so today's Star Wars Day, just a fun little haha. But today is pretty chill, just like Mondays typically are. Read aloud, silent reading, and a conferring entry. So talking about your book. Life journal, and that's it. For silent reading today, I do have a prompt posted in Classroom that I want you to answer. And that is the prompt for silent reading, your conferring slide. You're going to update me on what your book, like what's new going on in your book. And then you're going to answer the prompt of what is the author's purpose or message from what you have read in your book so far. So like, what is the theme or the moral of the story, and why do you think that so far? Okay. So pretty chill. I do realize that some of us were struggling with our life journal entries and trying to figure out like what to write about. So I did attach in the assignment section a menu of like options if you want. And that's just like something you can go and refer to if you would like. So, but otherwise, pretty chill day. So I hope you guys were able to get outside this weekend. I know we did. We went for a nice long walk. I actually, Justin's birthday is tomorrow, so we had actually built like the beanbag toss, like cornhole boards, as just like a fun, like something to do. And that was actually pretty fun. But yeah, we had a pretty eventful weekend, spent some time outside. But yeah, if you have any questions after read aloud, just let me know. But otherwise, it's a pretty chill day. So we are going to read chapter 22. Yep, chapter 22. And last time we read on Friday, this is what happened. They had arrived, so Amo Mazen was super sick. He had collapsed, and Nadia and Basel had brought him to this church to meet up with a priest or something to deliver a package or something for his last mission. And they got there, and they're in this church, and Nadia recognizes someone. She said, as Nadia looked at the back of the boy's head, she caught a flicker of red and white. I know who that is. So we kind of left off with the mystery of who is it that she's running into. So we are on October 11th, 2013, 4:39 a.m. So picking up where we left off. Nadia hurried toward the boy as if a genie had taken hold of her body. It's you, she whispered, heart hammering against her ribs. The boy awoke, startled, and used his worn red and white checkered scarf to wipe wet cheeks. Yes, it is me, he said with a watery smile. Are you okay, sir? Asked Basel, running to catch up with her, his eyes wide with surprise. He still lugged the bag of figs. Yes, I'm fine, said Tarek. So Tarek was the boy she recognized. So yes, I'm fine, said Tarek, though there was a cut on his chin and his clothes were torn and dusty. You decided to come, said Nadia, brimming with relief. Tarek's smile faltered, and he glanced back at the prophet Jesus, eyes grave. After a moment, he whispered, he was his mother's only son, a miracle from Allah. Then his face had hardened. She's not coming back. there was no use in staying. So remember, he's referring to his mom. There's no use in staying and waiting for his mom because she was never going to come back. Nadia's heart felt heavy. She wasn't particularly good at sympathy. I'm so sorry, she said simply. She looked at Tarek and could see a well of anguish, a sense of loss that surpassed her own thousandfold. After all, she was on her way to Turkey to find her family. He had given up hope of ever seeing his mother again. She was about to ask how he'd found them when the bishop called out to them softly. I see you found your friend, he said, accompanying the men carrying Amomazan. Now all of you, come along with me. He led them toward an arched door a dozen feet down from the altar. What happened to Amomazan? Whispered Tarek as the men went first, entering a wide hall that traveled deeper into the church. He just collapsed, said Nadia. The excitement of finding Tarek was fading. Worry ate at her as she watched the men disappear into the room on the right. Nadia followed and found a group of men huddled over Amomazan, who was lying on a sofa in a cozy sitting room. To her surprise, she saw the dark-robed figure from the square at the far end of the rectangular room, stacking boxes with his men. Give him air, ordered a short man with reddish hair, authoritatively pulling a stethoscope from his bag. As he listened to Amomazan's chest, the bishop leaned over to talk to him. The doctor blinked in surprise, then turned to the dark-robed figure. Imam Ismail, any medical supplies in those boxes from your Kurdish friends? Yes, there's an assortment of medical instruments, bandages, and medicines. Give me glucose, said the doctor. Also, please show me all the medications you have. Nadia pushed her way through the men. Is he okay? What's wrong with him? At her voice, Amomazan stirred. What? Where am I? He mumbled. Praise be to Allah, cried Bishop Ephraim. You're awake. Here, drink this, said the doctor, giving him a cup of water mixed with glucose, plus 2 pills from the dark bottle in one of the boxes. After drinking it down, Amomazan sat up, color returning to his cheeks. You will need to take these with more frequency, said the doctor, handing Amomazan the bottle, an uneasy look on his face. Plus, after that skull cracking, you're going to have quite a headache, to be sure. Thank you, doctor, said Amomazan, giving a nod and pocketing the bottle. These will be a great help indeed. He turned toward Nadia and spotted Tarek. How did you get here? I saw the address written on the package when I picked it up at the mosque, said Tarek with a smile. You mentioned you needed to drop it off before heading north, so I decided to take a chance. Clever boy, said Amomazan, then blinked. The package! Here it is, said Nadia, holding it out to him. Give it to the bishop. And said Amomazan, eyes filled with relief. You're the one who brought it this far. All eyes on him, the bishop gently peeled away the brown paper, revealing a folio of delicate vellum, the text in faded ink and decorated with gold and jewel-toned illustrations. Basel leaned forward to see, and even Nadia found that she was holding her breath. With shaking fingers, the bishop traced the letters, as someone whispered in reverence, Ya Allah, the Peshita. Pish what? Asked Basel. This, my child, said the bishop, eyes welling with tears, is one of the only surviving copies of the original Bible in Syriac, the language closest to what Jesus spoke, which was Aramaic. Where did you locate it, Brother Mason? It had been taken from the monastery and hidden in town north of Aleppo, said Amalmason. My contacts were able to procure it before it disappeared into the black market. Nadia stared at Amalmason, wondering just how far his web of contacts spread and how he cultivated them, like Suleiman. Remember, Suleiman is the person we're suspecting as a spy. Thank you, said the bishop, shaking with emotion. He turned to the men. Brothers, this is Mason Cater. So Mason Cater is his real name? Remember, it's Abel Mason or Mason Cater. There's like so many different names he's being called. I'm just wanting to know what his real name is. But I have a strong feeling that if this is something that he's doing with the bishop, that it must be his real name. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking Mason Cater is his true real name, is what I'm inferring. A dear friend, and as you see, a procurer of things invaluable. Amalmason ducked his head embarrassed. Now, Bishop, I'm no such thing. You are a magician, said the bishop, helping countless with your ingenious ways. Introductions were made, and it seemed the group represented various churches and social and civic organizations around the city. Given a plate of bread and strips of basturma, which was dried beef, by a young priest, the kids were directed to a corner to sit. Basel handed the priest the bags of figs, which was passed around. A grizzled old priest took one and stared at it with a forlorn sigh. It reminds me of the land promised to Prophet Abraham, filled with figs, pomegranates, olives, wheat, and honey, where you could eat without scarcity and not lack for anything. His companion snorted. Now we are in a wasteland where the people starve. Nadia caught Tarek staring at the rich pink interior of his fig, muttering quietly to himself, I swear by the fig and the olive. Why are you swearing, sir? Asked Basel, chewing with his mouth open, the bread and the basturma swirling around in a gross mass. Disgusted, Nadia elbowed him. Eat with your mouth closed. Don't you know anything? Asked Tarek, looking irritated. Basel shrugged and popped another piece of meat in his mouth. There is a verse in the Quran about the fig and the olive, said Tarek. They symbolize the land between Palestine and Syria where such fruits grew, along with the teachings of the prophets Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Peace be upon them. Oh, said Basel. I don't know about symbols, but figs are pretty tasty. You can tell he's younger. While the boys bickered, reminding Nadia of her brothers, she turned her attention to the men. She glanced at Amalmason with relief. He looked better, but still very weak. She wanted nothing more than to leave, but watching him sip a soothing broth, she bit her tongue. He needed to regain some strength before they could even go. Did you hear? Said a pale, slender man as he paced. The Mukhabarat sent out leaflets telling people they will face persecution from the rebels. Even though many Christians are in opposition to Assad, others have had close relations with the government and are scared. So this kind of connects to last Monday's quiz when I said, why would Nadia's father's like co-workers or like business partners, why would they stay with supporting Assad? Right here kind of is another clue. It says that they remain having close relations because they're scared. They may have had it to begin with and they're like getting really scared, but that fear factor, the fact that they rule by having others show fear is kind of important. Amalmason nodded. Fear is understandable. The Mukhabarat and the Assad regime use fear to control people, pitting religious groups or pitting religious groups against each other to hold his power. So he's trying to make and persuade other religious groups say not so nice things about other religious groups so that it kind of sets chaos to the side. Like they can have their own argument and create their own war and not have it against him, which I think is one thing that not a lot of rulers have done in their surrounding countries. And that's why a lot of the other rulers ended up leaving their countries or stepping down, whereas Bashar al-Assad is not. And that's one of his tactics, it sounds like, is pinning his people against each other. He's right, said Imam Ismail. I heard that government workers in the city of Homs were paid to agitate violence. They spray painted messages all over the city. Christians to Beirut, and Alawites to the grave. It is driving a wedge between the communities, keeping them from even working together. So he's pinning them against each other. So one, it takes the spotlight off of Bashar al-Assad, the president, and two, they can kind of wipe themselves out instead of Bashar having to do it, which is pretty nasty on his part, to be honest. Just like the French, thought Nadia. But if the Assad regime falls, there is talk that the opposition groups will take revenge, continued the man, especially these extremist foreign fighters coming from abroad. They are all out to kill Christians. Bishop Ephraim broke in. Now, brother, there is no plan to kill Christians just because they are Christian. Bombs and bullets are equally targeting Muslims and Christians. Bishop Ephraim is right, said the grizzled old priest. Before the war, Syrians of all religions lived in peace for hundreds of years. Now we must come together and fight for peace. Amomizan put down his cup. You are both correct. We must fight tyranny, not only from the Assad regime, but also from the outsiders who are bringing intolerance toward Christians and toward Muslims who do not believe as they do. Brothers, I must go, said the Imam. I must take a delivery to the Jesuit refugee service. And there's news that Assad's forces have locked down the area north of Judea. That does not sound good, thought Nadia. So there's no passage north from here? Asked Amomazin with a frown. Nadia's heart sank. No, I'm afraid not, said the Imam. But we have to go north, burst Nadia, unable to restrain her panic. The men looked at her with a mixture of pity and irritation. Yes, my child, said the bishop, but the path north is perilous from here, meaning super dangerous. You will have to go further east and then head north at a safer crossing point, said the Imam. Amomazin looked at Basel. Well, now we can find your grandfather in the Freedom Army he belongs to. Basel ducked his head, nodding, while Nadia fumed. More wasted time. And that is the end of chapter 22. So, before I stop the recording, I had a question. What are we kind of thinking is going to happen next because of this? I mean, obviously now they're going to head east and then north, meaning they're going to find the grandfather first of Basel and then go find Nadia's father. But based on this, it sounds like things are getting worse. Groups are going against groups, even if they have the common force or common idea that they want to go against Bashar al-Assad. the Syrian president. But what are we thinking in general of what's going to happen next, or inferences we can make? Any ideas? Yeah, I do feel bad for Nadia too, Leah. Um, I think it's super frustrating on her part, but I think that kind of shows that things are really out of her hands. And I think the fact that she doesn't have that sense of control, that's getting her super anxious and acting out more, and not having true control of her emotions. So, which can be very frustrating and scary. Um, but it could be worse. She could have no one. She could be trying to find it herself and get completely lost. Um, as we had from last week with last week's refugee 7.2 for social studies, the readings there, like who should the boys and a little trust, they had given like 3 options. That was like our whole theme last week, was who can we trust when we're trying to escape danger. um, I think that kind of comes down to here too, and we can see that in our read aloud is, well, what other options do you have? Who else can you trust? Right now, she's got super limited options. It seems like he's trustworthy. He's been taking care of her. He's been taking care of everyone else, even when it seems like he's suffering too. Um, and if she didn't have him, she would probably come across several people that would try to trick her and harm her in some sort of way. So Kira said, I think Basel is not going to find his grandfather, or Basel is going to find that he is dead. True. Notice too on the way at the end of the book, he kind of had like his head down. It didn't say like how he was overjoyed and was like, yes, I'm going to find my grandpa. I feel like I think he's starting to get comfortable with the fact that he's with Nadia and that he's going to have to say goodbye to her soon. And I think that's kind of also something he might be super sad about. And I agree that if I feel like his grandpa, something may have happened to him, because he is older, and usually the older aren't as physically able to maintain and sustain themselves during this time. So as we can see with Mason, he's having a hard time too, and he's older. So, all right, I'm going to end the recording. But a couple of things for those who are staying behind.